Welcome to the Wizards Council. I'm John.
I'm Matt.
I'm Abe.
Wizards Council is a bi-weekly podcast where we discuss the trials and tribulations that occurred while playing and running D&D. We will address issues ranging from problem players and DMs to the nitty-gritty of fighting styles and everything in between.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are going to do this thing. We're going to make a podcast. It's going to be fucking great.
Yeah. So this is like...
Explicit content warning.
That's true. I have to get that E-tag on there.
We need to put that at the beginning. Every one of these.
No, they'll take it in your players will tell you. But I think we wanted to make this podcast because, one, we really love talking about D&D and role-playing games.
I mean, heck, this whole thing started because we will be up until the birds are chirping and it's winter.
We'll play a 9-hour session and then talk for 3 hours about D&D.
I think we're underselling how much talking we do.
Probably.
We should record some of this because, well,
it's
someone
gold.
Probably wants to listen to it.
It's gold.
It's gold. And we love getting in and breaking down into getting real into conversations and topics about us, how we're feeling about playing, what is our current gripes with the game we're in, how we feel with players at our tables.
Oh, yeah. There's so much good, so many things that we've had to get through by just doing it. There wasn't a playbook when we got started doing D&D. The internet was still young and innocent, and D&D was still shamed.
The internet has never been innocent.
No, 2 weeks after it launched.
Yeah,
that lull period.
Yeah.
that lull period. It's innocent while you're waiting for the lines of your porn to load up.
What is this new thing? A porn distribution.
It took 2 weeks for the first image to upload.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And then the millions who downloaded it at that point kept it from downloading at any reasonable speed.
That's basically how that goes. So yeah,
the other part of this podcast will be tangents about random topics. That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Well, that's what I was going to say is that we are going to definitely get into just problems that we've faced at the D&D table and how we have addressed those problems. We'll come back with new material about problems we had last night on D&D.
Yeah.
And then how we've addressed them, hopefully.
Yeah.
And also, well, a lot of our conversation tends to focus around D&D. We don't play just D&D.
Yeah.
So we will be, tapping into our knowledge and our experiences through a course of all sorts of different tabletop games.
We'll get into a little bit of a bio here about what we've done, where we've been, so you'll hear more than just D&D, though.
And
just of RPGs in general. It all blends together well.
It's very important to be able to take pieces from other games that help you solve problems. How breaking down the fighter, how good or bad the
problem
class
players
is.
And DMs to the nitty-gritty of fighting styles.
Well, yeah, that's what I guess I wanted to sorry, Matt. I apologize.
It's called a reiteration. Jeez.
I love you, Abe.
I love you too. And maybe at some point we might yell at each other because somebody else is being an idiot. We'll try not to do that too often.
We'll try really hard.
Yeah.
I'm a very angry person, so, it's got to hold that in.
But yeah, that's one of the things
inside.
that we'll be focusing on a lot when we talk is we'll be talking about the various, mechanics. We'll talk about etiquette. We'll talk about all the things because a lot of those topics we encounter as problems at the table, and we want to try. A lot of those hours after session talking through ideas of how to resolve them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is when we spend 4 or 5 hours after a game session talking about it, it's that sudden realization of other people might have this exact problem, and there are various outlets out there, but more opinions out there on possible solutions. One that might work for you is the one that we might suggest, whereas another one might be somebody else suggests.
And I also wanted to I also think we'll be focusing on things that are. This isn't going to be like a rules question and answer kind of podcast. Maybe
not frequently.
Maybe it will be at some point, but what we really want to get in on all the topics that maybe people don't want to talk about, or
morality.
Yeah, or having issues. How you communicate about it, or feel like they can't bring it up.
Yeah, I mean we've had our journeys, playing D&D, playing role-playing games. There's a lot that can go into it. Like any relationship that you have, it's gonna, have its highs and lows.
Takes a lot of conversing back and forth, occasional hugs, and cuddles, but for the most part, it's
maybe some
communication
snuggles.
is key.
Exactly.
A little bit of pegging every now and again, just to really assert dominance.
Pegging
a little bit.
I mean, for some of us, Abe.
But mostly we wanted to record our thoughts and opinions and experiences we've had and the solutions we've come up with in hopes that, you, the listener, if you're coming to our podcast in hopes of, maybe it's to find a solution to the problem that you're encountering at your own table. Maybe the other, YouTube videos or podcasts that you listen to, they haven't solved your problem. Maybe we will. Who knows?
Yeah. Or at least help you think about it.
Well, guys, we should probably, tell the people, like we were already mentioning that we have experience dealing with all this kind of stuff. So maybe we just kind of introduce ourselves a little bit, let our audience know who the hell we are and, what we've done in the past, how we came to D&D, that kind of stuff.
Dope.
All right, I'll go first.
Do it.
I'm Abe. I've been playing.
Hi, Abe. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the Wizards Council.
It's been 8 days since my last D&D session.
Is that
my god! It actually has been 8 days since your last D&D session.
This is actually just turning into Dungeons and Dragons Anonymous. This is what we're turning into.
And this was real anonymous.
No, so I've been playing D&D. I got the red box starting set way back when I was in grade school. So that would be second edition basic D&D, I believe. That's been a long time since I looked it up.
I didn't even know that.
Yep. I didn't play much. I got the box, and I tried to play like 3 times, and Thaco defeated me.
That's when they had Thaco.
But I would say my real introduction to at least the ideas of D&D was playing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Icewind Dale 1 and 2 and Neverwinter Nights. Those BioWare Black Isle Studio video games from the mid-90s, 2000s.
Yeah, it was
late
90s, early 2000s.
Something like that.
Like, the Icewind Dales and Baldur's Gates were late 90s. The Neverwinter Nights were around the...
I missed you, BioWare.
So
I miss you, good BioWare.
Yeah. So that got me into like the world. And then I also read the Dragonlance novels, which also a huge influence.
Dragonlance.
You too love your Dragonlance.
So that got me into the hobby, getting into the idea of the hobby. And then I putted around trying to play various editions of the game through high school and nothing really got off. And then got to college, where I met John first here, and got me to play the Serenity role-playing game, which was my first role-playing game.
Serenity.
And that was 13 years ago. Roughly almost 13 years ago now.
Going on
12.
Much closer to 12.
Yeah, you're right. I did the math wrong there. And played Firefly for a while. Played Serenity, the role-playing game, so version 1 of that. After playing Serenity for a while, I finally got on to playing D&D for real. We played 3.5 was our first edition that I would say I really sunk my teeth into. And I made a horrible mistake, because the first time I played 3.5, I said John, Matt, and
two others
said we're going to play the Broken campaign, and I'm going to Dungeon Master. First time out of the gate.
Oh, it was so good.
We co-DM that one, if I recall correctly. We both did.
Did we?
You took out in the meat of it in the second half, but...
Well, for Serenity, we co-DM'd.
No, we did for that one, too.
Did we?
I ran a couple games of that one.
Okay.
So, anyways.
We did that for a couple years.
Yep.
Then we played 4th edition for quite a while.
For a long while.
For a long time, I played 4th edition. Probably till about 2 years after 5th came out. Or a year after 5th came out, we were still playing 4th edition.
Yeah, I think a year.
Because we just didn't want to transit. We were in the middle of a campaign. It would have been hard to transition over.
Yeah.
And then so I'm playing 5th edition 3 years ago.
We did take a stab at Traveler.
There was some Traveler.
Traveler had a really fun character creation system.
Yeah, we played Traveler. I would love to play more Traveler. I think that's a really good system. We played.
I don't know if I liked the system after character creation.
I don't think we played enough to know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We play, and then we did some Dresden, the role playing game based off of Fate.
We did do that.
which was a newly neat system.
Yes.
We go there.
That's
it's a
really
system you have
polite
to.
way of talking about
You
it.
acknowledge that you can break it, so don't do it.
Yeah. And then I think
Shadowrun. We
We played-
played.
We did play a lot of Shadowrun.
We played
actually.
about a year and a half of Shadowrun.
yeah, I mean I would say a full Shadowrun campaign
Yep.
where I became a terrorist by accident.
Terrorist by
You're-
belligerent choice.
You're too willing to commit.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, I just found out something that my character knew from the beginning. Turns out my character's a terrorist.
Yep.
I'll
Just-
change myself versus the rules.
Yep.
Yep.
What?
So that's my experience with the game. I would say I am pretty equal between playing and DMing. I've done both sides of it. I guess I've been playing more recently, but before that I DM'd quite a bit. So it's kind of a back and forth. I one time DM'd 17 straight days in a row for the same group. That was
Was that us?
That was the Broken campaign.
That was so good.
It was also at the end of 17 days. A man stood up from the table and said, "I quit."
I have rage quit
I
a campaign.
won. I beat the DM. Every player's dream. It was the best.
You shut up, you heathen.
Yep. Matt did defeat me.
Oh, that poor monk never needed its cerebellum there.
The monk, the dragon, that you deleted its pituitary gland.
Yeah.
Man, that was so fucking busted. I love it. Well, I should talk about my D&D experience next, I think.
Sure.
Let's hear it.
There's a bit of, it mirrors, A was involved in a lot of it. You know, I didn't really have too much experience before this. I think the first time that I ever tried a roleplay game was in an apartment right after college. We just knew the concept of D&D, and we just described shit and did not use any rules. It wasn't truly D&D, but
it was horseshit.
it was just delightful horseshit. We told the story together, and we loosely called it D&D. And then I got invited to do a Serenity campaign where I met Abe.
Yep.
And John, but I had
I
known
was there
John.
too.
Now, I was there, but I mean, it's kind of where you two met, really.
That's
Whereas
what the
Matt and I have known each other since the first day of college.
Yes.
What, 12 and a half years ago? And then within the same year, we
Yeah.
both met you, Abe.
Yep.
But it was that first the round of Serenity time that you got introduced to this schmo.
I think the first real campaign, though, that always stands out in my mind was the 4th edition campaign. And it was something, the 3.5 campaign was such horseshit that it didn't really, like, there was just something about that campaign that didn't quite, like, I don't know, it didn't feel like the right introduction to it. 4th edition was when I really got to do a lengthy campaign. I think we had 8 or 10 players, though, in that group, which was its own disaster.
Towards
Towards the end.
the
it
one I
was
was
a lot
playing
more-
with you.
Yeah, the one you were
Okay.
playing with me. Towards the end, that we just kept getting more people, and it was huge. But that one, like, was the first time I had, like, a character who, like, had growth and development. You know, they went from being...
You had growth and development in a character?
yeah,
I'm
I
still
went
waiting to see
from
that.
neutral good to neutral evil.
Oh no.
that campaign was great because if he would have gone with the evil decision, he missed out on the final session, and if he would have
Yep.
gone through with his plan, he would have
Yep.
saved the world. The
Yeah.
hero's choice was the wrong choice.
Yeah, I actually missed out the last session, and because I got evil, I was just going to start killing off the party members. And it turns out, if I had been there to do that, I would have broken the cycle, basically, of terribleness.
Huh.
I would have been imprisoned for eternity in there and gone mad and would have thus died. But I would have saved everybody against my better judgment.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be a villain. Haha, you're the hero.
Right? So that was a really... That was a fun campaign as well. First time running a game, 4th edition as well. I ran it straight out of a module
Yes,
for the first time. Yep, because they've introduced, I think that was their first 1 through 30 campaign module, and I started that, and we did not get to 30 before we petered out on that one. But we got it. We got it into like Paragon level, I think.
Yeah, we got through quite a few of them.
So that was fun.
Was that what? Was
That
that
was-
why
that-
I had 3 characters in 4 sessions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That particular campaign was the one that came off of the good old Dragon magazine back when they still did it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they still make Dragon magazine.
Do they still?
Yeah, it's a e-zine now.
Oh no, that's right.
There's
That's
an app
right.
you can
I
get to your
remember
phone
that.
and you get it free.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it used to be. It's more
Oh.
articles and fluff pieces than it is like
Content. Neat.
like actual like scenarios and missions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So that was running a game, though, was the Scales of War, and I don't consider that running a campaign, mostly because I never got to finish it, per se, and it was kind of a module, so it doesn't quite feel... I don't know. I didn't give my all to it. It was too new to it to really consider that my first campaign.
Okay.
I think the first campaign that I ran, the one I feel the best about is the one I'm currently running, which was for not Dungeons & Dragons. It's for the system Stars Without Number. That one feels like the campaign that I would say was my first real campaign.
You think it's mostly because it's you've made the story in the world yourself?
Yes, I would
Okay.
say it's a level of investment into it. I tried running campaigns before, but I never felt good about it, so or I never felt like I had quite done justice to it. This one feels like a good campaign, and honestly, it's where I'm going to draw a lot of my knowledge as a DM from, because I've had to deal the most with, well, the trials and tribulations of being a DM.
All right. Yeah. Well. All right. Well, my turn, I guess.
Yeah.
Who
are you? I don't know who you are.
Hi, I'm John.
Oh God.
Well then,
Why would we give that man a mic?
Because I sound wonderful on this mic.
I don't know why we need to have a mic. We only need 2. He picks up on ours.
That's true.
I may be a man who can project. I'm sorry. Not really.
Sorry,
right,
not sorry.
So first time playing a D&D game. God, that's... Or any role-playing game. 20-some years ago now. I was like 10 or 12. My buddy had introduced me... I had a buddy that introduced me to a lot of this stuff because his dad was a big nerd at the time. So he introduced me to...
Nerd.
Exactly. He introduced me to Diablo and stuff like that. But he came over and my other buddy was hanging out with us, and he's like, "Do you want to play D&D?" Sure, why not? I've heard of it because I did like Abe. I played with a little bit of I played Icewind Dale. I never played Baldur's Gate. I played Icewind Dale.
Baldur's Gate's
so that was
good.
kind of like my pseudo introduction to D&D because it was based off of the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, I did not play any of those games.
Oh, that's so
I was
good.
too busy. I was too deep into DDR and Guitar Hero.
The DDR and Guitar Hero were like a decade after that game. Not that far, I suppose. That was like PlayStation 2 era. So that's...
That was a good 5 years after Baldur's Gate came out. At least 5 years after Baldur's Gate came out.
Yeah, something along those lines. But I played a lot of those games, and he wanted to try it out, and it was an interesting experience as we played with almost none of the rules because he couldn't remember them specifically because his dad was the one who kind of kept the rules in check. And all I remember specifically from the scenario was a group of goblins were charging up the hill, and my buddy was like, "I can do anything, right?" Yeah. All right, I moon him. Wait, he's gonna moon him? Yeah, I'm gonna drop my pants and moon him. Okay, let me roll the dice. Rolls fairly low. The goblins are stunned by your lewd act. I shoot them? Sure. And it was a very short session of playing, but it gave just a little bit of taste. And then following that, I started reading the Dragonlance novels, which
So good.
I absolutely love those novels. And now only after playing so much D&D did I realize how much, those are just a great primer for understanding, giving a narrative effect to a lot of the mechanics a game has. Especially when it came to, spellcasters and the whole, how after you cast a spell, you can't cast it again or something to that effect. First real campaign, again, was sort of the one at the apartment with Matt, with the, we kind of... It was a very, very short campaign. I wouldn't discard it as a campaign.
Which one?
The one with Matt and I played at an apartment. The one he was referring to shortly after college for him.
Oh.
We played it a little bit. It was very loose with the rules. The guy who was running it was also pretty loose with the rules. It was a lot more narrative stuff. We had the fundamentals of what our classes could do, but we weren't like nitty and gritty and like, oh, well, I get this plus here and a minus here, and like down to the true nitty gritty of the mechanics. But then Serenity started, and then that's where we got the chance to DM. I think you started DMing it first, and then
You started playing. You were the DM first, and then I came in after that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's right. You and I were part of a separate group for a little bit, and that was being ran by somebody. I think not by me. It wasn't by me.
Nico?
I think it might have been our friend Nico. And
that sounds right.
But then we moved on to playing at our Matt and I's duplex.
Yeah.
And then we played that for ages, which was a great system because it was one of those things that was just like, oh, we need to do this fight? Cool. This dude has that stat. This dude has this stat. That's the only 2 stats they need. It was very, very loose.
Well, plus you had all that free time in college during boring lectures to write that.
Boring lectures. Great writing fodder time.
Well, especially
all that free time in college.
Right? Yeah.
That may be why I never finished my degree.
Yeah.
One of the leading factors.
I'm not saying D&D ruins your life, but
I don't think not having a degree ruins your life.
But we kind of wrapped up playing that for a while. We did the 3.5 campaign where it was just a whole bunch of horse shit. Then
yep.
There was a table flip involved, and we just walked away from that for a little while. Within serious justified reasons of flipping the table. Mad science.
Age's character is worse.
You're both horrible.
But less infuriating.
I suppose.
Just a little. But then I was part of Matt's first 4E group. That was the one that he and I got to play in.
Yep.
That one ran for a couple of years.
Yes.
And then after that was my first time DMing D&D, really. I mean, I did just a smidge, like I mentioned it was a very short hand of D&D, DMing with the Broken campaign, but then I moved over to 4th edition.
Yeah, and you ran I always think with the Elemental campaign.
Yeah, we ran Tanks campaign. That's what it eventually was called because we had Matt's character tanky. Because the man it was during the really early stages of 4E where there was quite a few broken builds that
Battle Rager?
The Battle Rager.
Yeah.
Invigorating temporary hit points.
Stacking temporary hit points that just allowed you to just keep climbing. It was ridiculous.
It was so good.
But we played that for quite a few years. We bounced between a couple campaigns and games that I was a part of.
There were a bajillion one-shots and failed campaign starts that we played. Because, I mean, there was 6 D&D players living across the hallway from each other.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, oh, we're all home tonight. Let's play D&D.
Yep.
Yeah, we found an apartment above a funeral home.
Yep.
Matt and I did, and with a couple of others.
Yep.
And then New Year's Eve of the first year we lived there, Nico brought over the 4th edition book, and he was like, "Look, could we try 4th edition?" Because he had bought it, and the rest of us were the initial people of just like 4th edition, get 3.5, and then we started playing 4E, and then we were like, "Shit, we like 4E."
This was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I think 4th edition's still my favorite edition.
That's fair.
Like, of all the editions I've played, I know that like puts me as an outlier. Like, I'd probably cut our listening audience in half by making that statement.
All 3 of them.
Yeah,
all 3 of the listeners.
Well, no, I really liked 4th edition. It was after it got the chance to really get on its get some legs under it. It became a really balanced system.
That took a long time.
It did. It took a long time.
And by the time it was balanced, it was also deep.
Yeah.
It was an ocean of data.
Well, it wasn't until like Monster Manual 3 that they finally fixed monsters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I still love the. What was it? You were kind of like being asked to create like a level 15 character. You're like, I don't know how to. I don't there's too much. What the fuck do I even do?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I mean, that was you. I mean,
Still, hands down, one of the best character builders.
well,
for
yeah,
an
but
edition.
you had to pay for the
needed to use
character builder so you could actually build a character.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, because there's just too much splat data.
Or you just had to be obsessed with it, like I was.
Well,
Sure.
we had almost all the books, so we had that resource. The builder was just a great resource for just consolidating it all.
I'm surprised my bookshelf hasn't collapsed yet under the weight of all those 40 books I have sitting up there.
But we played my campaign, or Tank's campaign, which was my campaign for ages until Abe moved away, and then
And you guys played after I left.
we played for a little while after they left, and then Matt and I played in another campaign after that with our friend Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of separated for a little bit there. We moved to separate cities.
Yep.
I moved away and played with a different group for a while, and then I found out Abe had actually moved to the same city I was in, and I started up another campaign with him in it,
Which
the
was
group
like-
that I was playing with before.
Like Tank's campaign redo.
It
Redux.
was
Takes
took
campaign 2, Electric Boogaloo.
sort of. I took the story I had started with that campaign and I moved it to this new campaign, and I made all the characters from the last campaign into NPCs that I could use however I so choose and abuse however I wanted to. But yeah, now I'm the guy running the current campaign at the moment. We've bounced around. All the campaigns after that we've all been a part of pretty much.
Yeah.
After we got back to living where we are now, we've been in the same campaigns.
Yep.
But
yes.
right now I'm running the Eberron campaign.
Yes.
What draws you guys to keep playing this game? I mean, we've played it for decades now. Some more than others, but decades now. What keeps you actually still playing the game?
My love for the game comes in two parts. One is I do not as many so much some, but I do love trying to make the best mechanical character I can within the constraints I set for myself. So I've been known to like try to limit my characters, but still try to be really good and competitive with how good the build is. I really do enjoy that kind of challenge of like handicapping one area but trying to still be competitive all around, which is gonna be a little bit tough and sometimes doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love the roleplay. I love exploring ideas and conversations about all kinds of topics through the lens of characters. I just I love sitting there and chatting and building relationships, that kind of stuff. I find that to be really enjoyable. And being heroes is fun.
Being heroes is fun.
Because we're heroes.
So, I'd say I'm a little flipped on that. I come to the table for the power game. I like being able to make I like making a fun character. Like
strong,
you would
independent character.
A strong, independent character. It is...
He just tried to flip his no hair.
Flip to the wrong side, alright?
Yeah, the comb over was in the wrong direction.
It's beautiful. Don't judge.
Can't help it.
I also really like kind of developing a character. Doesn't always work out. I don't always fall in love with my characters, and I may be known to change characters often in campaigns. Though I think this was the first time that I've changed character. I've done the most changing characters that weren't just banned. There was a stint for a while where my characters were like, please stop playing that character. We're done with this shit. I power game too hard, I guess.
In all fairness, those characters were broken not by necessarily your fault, but by the system itself.
I appreciate that save, John.
Sometimes you weren't good enough DMs to understand how to better handle your characters.
Yeah.
Man, I love hearing that I'm a winner like that.
That's not what that was at
That
all.
is not what that was at all.
I'm gonna cut that now.
Yeah, like I was giving you the benefit of the doubt with Tank. I mean, that dude had broken mechanics, so you were playing it up. It was at that point I figured out how to deal with him, kill your party, and leave you to live.
All right, moving on. So this is now a
I'm so
two-person podcast
sorry.
between John and Abe.
Hey now. But yeah, that's what it is. It's just I like just the whole kind of picking a bit of a character that I can play that's a bit different. It's fun just to kind of... escape and just be awesome. Like, I really come to it. I like the epic fantasy. I like the character that is strong and gets to be powerful and then gets to fight powerful monsters and is able to overcome them with challenge, and you get to save the realm, interact with other people who are awesome, and move on to some of the crazy shit that they write about. Like, I loved reading about the epic level handbook. Like, that always got to me. Like, reading about, like, the city of brass, learning about all the different dimensions and how impossible it is to go there makes you just want to do something in the other planes. Like, I said dimensions, that's my starts with that number coming through. But yeah, it was, that's why I come. I come for the epic fantasy of it.
I can relate to all, like, I can relate to both sides of that thing. I think I lean a little bit more towards Abe's reason for coming back to it. I like the roleplay aspect of it. With a little bit of an acting background, I find myself a little bit more drawn to the developing a character. I like building characters not off of how I can make them, like, initially I make the background and then what skills attribute itself to that. You know, were they raised in the woods? Okay, cool, I'll take nature, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But I also, like, I'm also on par with, agree with both of them in that regard of I also want them to be strong in their particular field.
Yeah.
Whether it's not maybe it's not the superpower, but it is what they do well. They may not be the perfect choice for everything. Like, maybe it's not the most
giving
damaging.
me a lot of direct stares right now.
I'm just looking in your direction, because you're making eye contact with me. That's why I'm getting lost. And I mean, jeez. Sorry.
Love at first sight.
I don't know. Your redhead was just trying to eat his soul.
Yeah, that
was me drawing your soul into one of my freckles.
But yeah,
what was that noise?
That was me just being like,
that was his soul leaving his body.
That was the soul leaving my body and regaining it before you consumed it, you heathen.
Duh.
But yeah, that's what draws me back to it. I enjoy also just sitting around and playing a game on the weekends with my friends, or during the weekday if it stars. I just enjoy the narrative surprises. I like being surprised at the table and the twists and turns that can happen with a die roll going wrong and just being surprised at somebody dying, or Matt throwing out that my homeworld is somehow has a super weapon that I didn't know about, just being like, wait, what? And drawing those lines and conclusions. I love the story aspect of the game, because the mechanics for me is just the extra stuff. It's how the game works, but the narrative beats, I think, is what draws me there.
That's fair.
So I mean, that's kind of why we play, but why do we DM? Like, that's a crazy person territory. That's hurting cats and not being efficient.
I won't lie. Since I've started DMing, it's the most fun I've had at the table. Yeah, I love it. Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been questioning why I DM'd. It's been a thing I've been going through recently. Let's try to bring us back down, guys. Let's get deep here.
Oh.
I wish I could, Abe.
Please.
Stop reminding me of inadequacies.
Please tell me more.
Sometimes I like to tell I do like to tell stories, and I like. It is kind of fun to play the world, but it's also can be it can be very hard for me to prep and get ready for sessions. All that kind of legwork has been kind of it's been a problem for me recently.
Takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Life gets in the. I wouldn't say gets in the way. Life takes precedence.
Yeah.
Over it.
Well, we all have our priorities.
Exactly.
But yeah, I always enjoy it when I look across the table and see my players 100% locked in what I'm saying, and like that moment where you've got them in your hand is probably what I'm always striving for when I'm DMing.
Yeah, that'd be the same here. I know there are times where I want to tell a story. I have a vision of a story of some kind, and there will be times where, as a DM, you get to tell different kinds of stories. Sometimes it's a story where you just have this big grand villain, and everything the game is building up to is taking out that big villain. And then, like this new one, I've had a lot of fun telling individual stories, like the stories of each person in the party, that kind of thing. That's what kind of draws me to doing it, and also hopefully the enjoyment of my friends, just enjoying the campaign, enjoying what I throw at them, like coming out of a session where you just barely scraped by. I know I enjoy that. I
please kill me.
Yeah.
I am the wolf. I think I might be the world's weirdest player, and I love to die.
It's so he gets to his next character is the biggest thing.
No.
You see, you're just blatant about it, Matt. You just like, can I play something different? It was just like,
You've banned me. You banned me in this campaign from changing characters
for a third or fourth time.
No, hey, I didn't want to change my first character.
okay, we're getting derailed here.
We're getting into
a
this
little
later.
derailed here. We'll get to that at another
I'm sure there'd be an episode about character change and transitions.
Yeah. But
that sounds like a good episode.
Yeah, wouldn't it be?
We should probably do that.
Yeah.
Transitioning. Segue.
Yeah.
We should also just do them this podcast. That sounds like a good idea.
Transitions.
But yeah, that's my thing. That's what I enjoy about doing it. What keeps me coming back.
I'm learning. Like I've been DMing for a year and a half now. I'd say like seriously DMing for a year and a half now. Year and a half. And I love new stuff. I love changing. That's why I change my character so much, is because I always find something new and exciting that I want to try out. And as a DM, I get to do that all the time. And the best part is I love creating things that will be interesting and fun for the players to interact with, things that will surprise them and grab their attention. And I love addressing like moral dilemmas. I love getting my players involved in something that they're like, shit, where do we actually fall on this? And it's my favorite moment when the party splits in the middle, being like, this isn't that bad. And this party's like, I'm sorry, this isn't that bad. What are you saying, you monster? And then and usually it's not that dramatic, but still, like, I love whenever I can present them with something that is questionable, or whenever you can reveal that twist. I love that, being able to twist that and change, and just the surprise, telling that story. And I'm finding that I want to react more to my players. So as a DM, I encourage my players to set the pace and direction. I want them to decide where to go. And part of it's because of the system that I found, starts with that number, is designed to be sandbox. It's designed to have a bunch of just starting points, and then you just let your players pick one, maybe at random. Maybe you give them a couple of bits of data so they have an idea of what to expect, and then they can decide which one sounds interesting, and then they go there. And you just take it from there, and then the story develops as one does when you introduce players to any story. The more you care about it, the more they will go the wrong direction. So if you have a loose story, then you know that they can't fuck it up too bad because there wasn't a lot to fuck up.
I sort of like that first plan never survives.
First contact with the enemy.
First contact with the engagement.
I've never agreed with you so much right now.
Yeah,
the players just like, are the enemy.
No. Yeah. No.
Your narrative may not survive the first contact with your players.
Probably
not because they're being assholes. It's because they just chose to go left when all of your notes are saying right.
Yep. That's okay. The note just change left and right in the notes.
We'll cover those.
Right.
Maybe be able to roll back on that one pretty quick.
But yeah, that's why I DM. I DM because I love, like Abe, like John. I have a story that I want to tell, but it's the player's story that I want to tell. Not necessarily like an individual story or a group story. It depends on what they go for. Mm-hmm. It's about building that together, because at the end of the day, we're here to have fun. And I want to facilitate that fun. I want to be the fun facilitator.
The fun police?
Yeah, no, I want to be the fun police. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You're having too much fun. That's your puppy gone. Let's get this back in line.
Whoa.
I have been in the dungeons you've created.
Did you like my murder sex dungeon? hey, it's not my fault that you guys went to a planet of promiscuity and loose morals. And
it was drug, sex, and a little bit of violence when we got there.
Right.
Actually, no, it was drug, sex, and violence the whole time.
And a whole lot of rock and roll.
And a whole lot of rock and roll.
We brought the rock and roll.
You guys brought the EDM.
Yeah.
But then you guys had to go to some... But then I was like, well, what would this place consider taboo? Because that question needed to be answered.
We found it. Probably wasn't my most favorite moment, but it was an interesting moment. A little bit of what I was saying, one of the things that I was kind of curious about, like we've had lots of freaking experience with this game, lots. Favorite moment?
Oh boy, I'm trying not to let recent events like cloud my mindset here. So let Matt start so I can think about it.
Favorite moment, DM and player? Does it really matter?
Doesn't matter. You DMing, you playing. Could be recent, could be old, whichever.
I would say that so far, my favorite moment, what comes to mind is a recent moment. You know, it just, maybe that's why it's there, but it's as a DM, and it was, just a very brief little bit of history here. The players in my Starts Without Number campaign had decided within the first couple of sessions of this thing that they kind of liked this planet called Amora, because they were just kind of cool people. They were psychics. They promoted knowledge and training, and they were just overall good people. And the party was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw my lot in with these people. We've taken a shine to them. They did a couple missions for them, ended up helping them out, and eventually they came under attack from a neighboring star system, and their planet is being threatened. And the party's like, we are gonna help them out if we can. Like, we are here to, you know, to be utilized to deal with this stuff. And so the party got brought in, got conscripted in order to fight on their behalf, and was introduced to Amora's plan to deal with this. And it was the first moment that they got to see the other side of Amora, the questionable side of Amora, where they were using a psychic discipline to reanimate the dead as zombies.
Psionic zombies.
Yep.
Psionically controlled zombies.
Psionically controlled zombies.
Fuck that.
And the party was immediately divided about this.
Do you see a trend with Matt? Just as a heads up, he's got just a raging boner for psionics.
It is pretty neat. I'm trying to work on that. But it was fun because when I dropped the bomb about this and got them to kind of interact with it, everyone at the table was like, whoa. And general revulsion to the idea of it, but some of them were trying to stay to their characters and be like, you know what? This isn't so bad. And others were like, I mean, like, it's a little weird, but, like, they're kind of ticking some of the technicality boxes that make this not so bad. And I kind of get where they're coming from. Like, they're on the, like, this, I can see the steps leading up to this. I get it. It makes sense. But fuck, why you? I thought you were the good ones. And it was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed it because when the session finished that night, there was like an hour-long discussion, continued debate about this between the players. And then the next time we sat at the table, it came back up all over again. There was just a further discussion. It was that, I love that. I love when, even once you wrap up the story for the time, the players are still like, no, that I really want to think about that. That was actually just, this is worth pondering. So it was enjoyable to kind of to have that moment. So I felt that was a win as a DM, was a moment that I managed to execute well. And
all right,
I loved it.
I have two.
So John, what is
your
favorite?
Like, pooping on the dude over here. All right.
Come on, Abe, what you got going on?
I have two because I have one as a DM, one as a player.
That sounds good. I might have a player one later.
Okay, as a DM, our first 5th edition campaign was Out of the Abyss.
Ooh, yeah.
And out of the Abyss, you come across a town named Sloopadoop.
Oh, Sloopadoop. Bloop bloop peen.
And I don't think I've ever seen 6 30-year-old men crying at a table from laughter as I was trying to pronounce the names for this town. Because there was Sloopadoop, Bloop Bloop Pleen, Bleen Bleen Pod. It was nonstop. It was hilarious. Everybody was having a great time. As you can tell, Matt's still dying from it.
It was so fucking good.
It was amazing. It was probably the most pure joy I've seen at a gaming table. But my favorite part about the whole thing is at the end of that section, and spoilers for Out of the Abyss, the end of that whole adventure, when everybody's laughing and crying and having a great time, Demogorgon steps out and says, "Come get some, boys."
Yeah, that took a hard turn at that moment because it was like, this town is a joke.
I'm actually going to interrupt right now and say that was my favorite moment as a player.
Yeah?
That was 100% because it hits those buttons that I love as a DM. It was, hey, you expected this. We are literally side-splitting laughter. It was, people were literally rolling on the floor in laughter, all right? There was some groffle mouth going on. It was fucking priceless. And then Abe, he manages to fucking pull himself together long enough to... Because we're fucking murdering things and laughing at their names and just imagining this stuff. And then he's like... And then you see, like, the mound of, like...
The water
rumbling and, like, the person sacrificing himself. And then Demogorgon comes up. Everyone make a fucking charisma saving throw. And we're like... I'm sorry. What?
It went from laughter and joy to pure horror.
It was so well done.
So this is where the campaign actually starts. We have to remake our characters, right?
Yeah, it was so good.
So that was one of my favorite moments as a DM.
Thank you. That was so fucking good.
Thank you. And then my favorite moment as a player was recently in John's Everon campaign. I've always wanted to perform a heroic sacrifice as a character. And I got to do all the steps and lead up to that. When my character Jabari got to tell the group to leave, to stay behind, to try to close an arcane gate. And he got and being able to kind of go through that scenario was a lot of fun. I ended up living because my armor apparently is magical horseshit. John's very nice DM with legendary items sometimes.
I think that one made the most sense to me. Because I'll agree, legendary horseshit, but it was the plane of fire that was trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And it is a fire resistant plate that is imbued with stuff like that. So I feel like, despite the level of horseshit that happened, it made the most sense.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's a property of the armor. When you go down, you come back up. So I was able to survive. Yep. It was great, but being able to go through the moment, and then there was another player whose character stayed behind with me, and having a little bit of making eye contact with that player and saying, like, good luck and goodbye to the other character, that moment meant a lot to me. That was a lot of really good, it was a lot of fun. Check my boxes.
For me, it was for me, I remember a specific moment of DMing. The part where pendulums came into play. It was an adventure that we did in 4th edition. The party was going down. It was like a one-shot adventure. We were just at home and needed... Well, fine, let's play. And I had a Shardmine Bard NPC playing that was their healer. Matt was a warden. We had a ranger in the group, and we had... I forget what the last guy was. I forget what AJ's character was. But more or less, they're going down these narrow staircases, only 5 feet wide. And after about like 40 feet, there's a platform you can stand on where you're safe. The entire time you're traveling down it, though, you're getting shot at by these guys down below who are within range of you. And if you get hit, it pushes you. So you get immediately knocked off the bridge, and you have to make a save to avoid falling. So the Shardmine's going down. Mind you, it's their only healer in the group. And the Shardmine gets knocked off the edge, makes it save, it's hanging on, climbs back up. Gets shot a second time and falls. And it was at that exact moment where I watched 3 other players immediately start processing math in their mind of, all right, okay, what can we do? Okay, one of the players pulls out a rope, tosses it to a stronger player, hangs onto it, dives off the platform to this falling Shardmine where we had to process how quickly are you falling? How does the game mechanic handles falling? Dove down, grabbed onto the Shardmine as it's falling. Strength checks were needed. People were almost sliding off the platform, at which point the rope went taut. And then the Shardmine and the other character swing underneath the arch of the bridge, and because of where the bridge was, it pulled them over to the lower bridge, where they made a check to grab onto the lower bridge. They grabbed onto it, and the fight that was initially just the tank warden Matt was playing, standing at the top of the bridge, stopping everything from coming up, was immediately now flanking the enemies who were pincered on the staircase because the other characters swung up behind them.
Yep.
It was just like
calculated.
It was it was one of those moments where you just like just roll with it. What do you got? What do you got to save this person? And I think that's one of the things I love about DMing is when you get to that moment of just like somebody's about to die, let the horse shit roll. Let's see what you guys got. Let's see what you can do to come back from this. As a player, there's a lot of times in Matt's Stars Without Numbers campaign that I've really enjoyed. One immediately that comes to the top of my head is getting that aha moment of, shit, my home world has a super, like, it has a starship that shouldn't exist. Wait. They have it and they're our enemy. Damn it. And then that moment of being able to go around to the rest of the party of like, oh, this is going to suck. And everybody just being like, wait, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So I need you to, do we have scans of my home world? Yeah. Could you look at this spot on it? Yeah, what about it? What's there? Nothing? So describe nothing. What are you asking for? Just describe it for me. All right, what's it look like, Matt? It looks like a crater. It looks like a giant hole in the ground. It looks like a giant hole in the ground. What? That's where the city's supposed to be. I like those little moments where just, like when the players get their aha moment, and it's always fun to be able to do that.
Yes.
As
a DM, it is a lot of fun when the players put their heads together and think about the things you've said. Like that's why I DM. I love dropping hints. I do it a lot in Starts With That Number. I don't think all of it gets picked up by the players, but there's a lot of information that I drop out on the table, and my hope is that the players will put together these pieces to be like, wait a second, if this is true, then this is true. Or if this exists, then we can use that. Like, I want the players to think with portals. I want the characters to look at the tools around them and be like, oh shit, that is a fact. This was told to me. That is now a true thing about this world. And the implications of that statement are, oh boy, that needs to be considered.
I think that's one thing I do love about DMing, and it's a great suggestion for anybody who wants to start DMing, is listen to your players about everything they like. As your campaign is going, they're going to tell you their wants, like what they really hope for their character. And the coolest part is when you get to just at random, don't acknowledge it or anything like that, but throw it into the game. Mm-hmm. Because you listen to your players, like, I really, like, at some point I would love this character to go out this way. And just give that moment to them. Or, they really want to do this. Give it to them. Mm-hmm. And just leave it as a surprise. And give them that moment to stand up and reach those steps. Go through those steps to reach that moment. But that's where we'll end our session today. But Matt, where could someone email us if they wanted to contact us?
wizardscouncilpod@gmail.com. That is wizards plural, councilpod@gmail.com.
And where can people tweet us? We have a Twitter account.
Yeah, at wizardspod.
All right. So until our next meeting, may the gods bless your dice, and may your death saving throw succeed.
Ciao.
Peace out.
Adios. Hey, John here. Thanks for listening to Wizards Council Podcast. If you liked today's episode, please rate and leave a review for us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. It helps wonderful folks like yourself to find us. While the council may not be in session for now, we will be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. Until then, take care, spread the love, and stay nerdy. Bye!